Behind every great leader is a great mentor. It's time to meet yours face to face. We speak to the investment guru, Magnus Heystek. Then, Ntando Kubheka shares his forward-thinking ideas. The Mentorship Challenge with Marc Wainer.
I'm Marc Wainer, and I'm living proof of the fact that mentorship can have a huge impact on a person's life. Throughout my career, I've been extremely fortunate to have worked with and interacted with people whose advice, guidance, and yes, at times even criticism, have certainly contributed to my success. Somebody who I've known for many, many years, haven't seen him for a long time, but Magnus Heystek, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mark.
Magnus, the purpose of the Mentorship Challenge is to connect as many people out there who would benefit, and I think everybody can benefit from mentorship, with people like yourself, like our other guests, for advice, for guidance. And aside from the people that we have on the show, I'm blown away by the fact that in a short space of time, we've had dozens of people volunteer time to mentor people. These are people who really at the top of their game, prepared to give time and advice to people out there across a wide spectrum of fields.
Your program is about mentorship. And in fact, what I've been doing for a very long time, I've been mentoring people, whether they listen to me on the radio or read my columns or on a one-on-one basis. As a financial advisor, you're actually a mentor. You have some knowledge and you advise people, you mentor them, and you educate them, and that's the essence of our business.
You started off as a financial journalist, went into funds management advice, and a household name on radio. My late mother used to tell me when I used to go and visit her, "What are you doing?" I'd say, "I'm buying a property or these shares." She'd say, "No, Magnus said." Okay? If you listen to the radio today, Magnus said you mustn't buy property or you mustn't do this. So Magnus was the guru. The late 90s, I think 98, 99, you sell your business.
That's correct. My first investment business.
Your first investment business. You sell it to this corporation. You join them. You're there for a couple of years. And then one day, the magic words, you're fired, in essence. So obviously a shock to your system. But like many, many other people in history and even in South Africa, the words "you fired" are really a call to action.
It takes you out of your comfort zone, and you understand you've got to do something, and there's a small element of revenge by being successful, and a lot of people testify to that. But yeah, that's what happened, and 20 years later, great things have happened.
Not too long ago, 2014, 2015, you were telling people, go offshore, South Africa's bankrupt. Some listened, some didn't.
The issue of the rand, offshore, onshore, has been a big debate for many years. And we as a company in 2011 already started moving money offshore for various reasons. And one of the reasons is being we're a commodity-driven economy. And when it goes well, it goes very well, but when it goes poorly, it goes very poorly. And purely diversifying your investments. And we tend to tell people, forget about the rand. It's unpredictable, it's volatile. Look at the merit or the quality of your investment somewhere else. And that has been a strategy that's been very, very successful. And a lot of people are very grateful today that we pushed them in that direction.
Because it's also quite interesting that the rand, or the value of the rand, is no longer just dependent on what happens in South Africa.
Correct.
So we think when things happen here, the rand is going to weaken, but because of something that's happening in China or America, it actually strengthens. So it's impossible to know which way it's going, other than over a period of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Obviously, you've had successes and you've made mistakes. If you had it over, is there anything that you would do differently?
I probably would have started my business much earlier. I was perhaps, although I love journalism, it's very stimulating, it's very cerebral, and you sort of meet people at a very high level, like people like yourself and other business guys.
In your career, whether it was financial journalism or financial advisor, was there anybody that mentored you, that you looked up to, that you picked up from people that you admired?
Oh, a lot of people. As I said, in being in the financial world, financial journalism world, you met a great number of great minds. And as a young journalist, I always went into an interview with somebody and I would ask him one question. What is the one thing that you can tell me about your business? And I can, off the top of my head, a guy like Nick Frangos, I asked him and I said, what is the one thing that you think is important in business? And his answer to me, it was immediate. He said, be better than everybody else in your circle of business. And that, for example, is an example of what mentorship can be. So if you want to be good in business, just be better than your competitors.
In terms of your financial business, when you sold it, you probably saw things that you didn't want people to do what they were doing with your business.
You must actually have this conversation with yourself. Why are you doing this? Are they the right partners? Are you not being naive? Have you got good advice doing this deal? And that's another thing I learned. Whatever you do, any decision, try and get the best advice. Whether it's the best lawyer or the best accountant or whatever, don't think that you are smarter than all of these people. Admit your shortcomings and get someone to help you. And I think that's a mistake I made. I was very arrogant. I thought I'd do the deal, and these were a bunch of great guys. And the minute the deal was signed, I realized they were not great guys.
Because it's easy to get married, much more difficult to get divorced,
yeah,
and much more expensive.
Yeah.
So we sit and we talk and we say, is there the chemistry? Are we on the same wavelength?
Rather walk away from many, many deals than do one bad deal.
Sometimes the best deals
is the one that didn't happen.
The one that you don't do.
Correct.
What advice would you have for somebody who wants to get into the business, besides saying don't get into the business?
No, it's a fantastic business. It's a very long-time business. You can have a very, very long and a worthwhile career. You've got to actually passionately want to help people. You must read about the investment markets. You must read about the economy. You must read about personal relationships. And more in our business, it's about the behavioral changes that you can bring to the table.
So previously 60, 65, you retired, 70, 75, you died. Now people are being forced to retire at 60, 65 in some instances, and they're living to 90. So they're planning, and the advice that you're having to give people is now much longer term.
We tell people when they retire, we say to them, what is your next career? And amazingly, a lot of people have embraced that. They've said, geez, I am too young to retire and sit on the old age home stoop and drinking coffee. I'm planning my next cycling trip to the Karoo. I'm planning my next business venture.
Amazing. There are literally hundreds of people out there who would love the opportunity of being mentored, getting advice and guidance from Magnus Heystek. How many of your valuable hours can I get from you?
I've got 20 to 30 hours to give to you, but I'll do it in a different way. I'd like to have seminars for young people. And come to a seminar, free of charge.
Okay. Yeah, okay, so we'll take you up on that, but also we're going to take you up on 30 hours where you'll give valuable time to one or two people.
You got it.
Do you have somebody else, a friend, a colleague, or somebody that you could challenge, that we could approach to see if we can get 30 hours or more from them?
Well, I can look at some of my colleagues in the same business that I am, maybe one of the top fund managers, someone like Dr. Alex Pastana, who runs some of our money.
Yeah.
He's a brilliant man. He studied under Nobel Prize winner in France.
Magnus, it's been an absolute pleasure to reconnect with you. I wish you all the luck, all the success going forward.
Thank you very much.
If you would like to be mentored by Magnus or any of the other guests we've had on our show, or the dozens of people who've registered to be mentors, visit our website, register as a mentee. We've accumulated hundreds of hours in our bank. There is somebody there who can help you on your road to success. Register, it could change your life. With me now is a very special guest, Ntando Kubheka. Ntando, welcome and thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, and very, very interesting story. You did your MBA at Nelson Mandela University, and as part of your final year, you had to do something about this disruptive business model, and you chose car sharing, which is very different from Uber or ride hailing. But obviously South Africa has its own challenges.
Yes.
And I think you've adopted a slightly different model. Just tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So our story begins in an MBA class, and we, me, Sangwa, and myself, we're doing our final year, and we had to choose and write a disruptive business plan. We decided, we'd rather spend our time writing a business plan on something that we could immediately implement and build. And car sharing became that story. So we then decided to build low commute as soon as we finished our MBA, and it became a success story in the cities where we began, and those cities were Johannesburg and Cape Town. What
made you want to do an MBA?
I've always been this crazy person, and I wanted structure. And of course, at the time when I did my MBA, I was working for a bank, and it was one of those things I needed to do to just get to the top. But I realized that as soon as I finished, the pond just got too small for me. And I said, I need to create my own pond. And the only way I could do it was in entrepreneurship.
I've had easy pass in the UK when I've traveled with my son. So there you go on an app and you find a car that's 5 or 10 minutes away.
Yes.
You press something on your phone and
yes.
the car opens and you take the keys out the cubbyhole and you drive it for an hour or 2 or 3 and then you bring it back.
Correct.
And that model says there's an annual membership fee and then there's a charge per hour.
Correct.
Using the car. Does your model have a membership fee?
So we used to have membership fees. We've since made it free, right? One of the reasons why you want to make it free is simply to just get the membership growing. Okay, so with the change and bias towards corporates, you find that most of our customers pay for our services as part of the normal basket of services that they buy every month and they spend on every month. So for example, if you have low commute as part of your warranty product, you spend on it when you buy your car, and it's in one source.
So like
right?
a service plan.
It's like a service plan.
So,
right?
so what you've done differently, you're not looking for the Marc Wainers of the world
to
sign up. You're looking for Ford or
for Mazda or Jaguar.
Mazda.
Yeah.
So when I take my car for service, instead of having to worry about how am I going to get from the garage, what am I going to do during the day if I need a car,
you find your car there.
The car will be there, and when I go and collect my car,
you leave it there.
I leave it there.
Yes.
That is an unbelievably fantastic service and something that is quite different to what's available. I don't know if you've heard of something called Cura.
Yes.
So this is where I can rent my car to you.
Yes, person-to-person sharing.
Person-person to sharing. This is an amazing concept, and I experienced that firsthand as well on a recent trip to LA. Not only can I hire a car from you, I can specify I want to drive a Tesla or a Mercedes or a Mazda.
Yes.
And that's what you get. It's not like Category A or Category B.
The biggest trend right now is car hire companies coming into the space where we are. We've seen the likes of Avis buying Zipcar back in 2013. We've seen motor manufacturers building service companies like ours, because if they don't, right, we will cannibalize them. The biggest disruption we're going to see in the next couple of years is autonomous cars, right? That's going to change the landscape altogether, right?
Absolutely.
And it's going to disrupt some of the big players, and consolidation must happen at some point, right? And the likes of Avis and Hertz and so forth are going to come into this space because they are forced to.
Average person's car is used less than 10% of the time.
It's actually 3%.
3 or 4%,
yes.
Unless your business means that you're in a car all the time.
Yes.
But I go to the office a couple of kilometers, my car stands there, I come home, and once or twice a week maybe we go to a restaurant. You have this depreciating asset.
24 hours a day.
24 hours a day, which really doesn't make any sense in terms of what you're paying, hire purchase or leasing, fuel, licensing, all of the other things.
Yes.
But, and in particular in emerging markets, the car is a status symbol.
Yes, correct.
So this is kind of the dichotomy. So on the one hand, financially and logically, owning a car doesn't make sense for most people. But because of the social aspect of it, the prestige aspect, the success, this is how you say, first of all, yes, I've got a Fiat or I've got whatever, and ultimately I've got a Lamborghini or whatever. This is how you show people how you've arrived, also by your watches. So you've got a very fancy watch that you've arrived. That's quite interesting as to the role that that's going to play going forward in terms of car ownership.
I was reading some stats on one of the OEMs that over the last 8 years, they made less than 1% net profit. All right, it's just that they're a large-sized company. Yeah. But if you take them and you compare them to a car-sharing service company, right, which is a mobility company, it just becomes a big joke, all right? A service company would make more money than a manufacturer any day today. We've got to start as companies to think about service more than manufacturing, and it's a very strange situation, especially where we are as an emerging nation, still talking about industrialization and saying we must industrialize. The more innovation we bring, right, into our economies, the more services we bring into our economies, the better we will perform. We are way behind our time, you know, where the world is, you know, already.
Which that brings me on to something I know that you're quite big on, is collaborative consumption.
Certainly.
So this is, as I understand it, and forgive me because I'm not so tech savvy, but this is where people share their things or hire. So if I have a lawnmower that I only use once every 2 weeks, instead of me just letting it stay in my storeroom or my garage, there's some basis on which I can say to people in my area, if you need a lawnmower, I'll rent it to you for 10 Rand a day or something and get something for it. And then they don't have to buy a lawnmower.
Yes.
So this whole thing to me is like a threat to business, because people are going to buy less and less things because they can hire from their neighbor.
Access trumps ownership. We've collected enough items. We all have cars. We all have homes. We all have spoons. We all have computers. The thinking around this is, if I've got a lounge, how do I take my lounge and turn it into a revenue-generating entity on its own? And that's why we've built, for example, Convivial Club. The thinking around Convivial Club is, I already have a kitchen. I already have a dining room. And it could be in Soweto, and it could be in Mamelodi, or it could be in Sandton. So how do I then divert and move some traffic that was going to go into a formal restaurant like Spur into a neighborhood home where Auntie Sheila, who is a housewife, enjoys cooking, could then host 6 of us, and we pay her some money. And it's picking up now because we've just launched it. So it is going to be an awesome food sharing platform, I believe.
And is there ratings for it?
Yes, there are ratings. There's verification, so we know
so
who's
I
in
can
every
wait
home.
And see who's cooking good food, and then decide when they
decide where
so
you're
somebody
going to go.
can do this once a week, once a month, whatever they choose.
Whenever they want to.
And they post and say, okay, next Tuesday night
I'm hosting a dinner.
Pap and Vos, or I'm doing Dakla Orange, whatever it might be. That appeals to me.
And this is my price. And this is how many people I want.
And not only do I go there for hopefully a good meal, but I'm also going to meet people that I've never met before, people in the neighborhood.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
We'll see you after the break. Welcome back. What about security? I mean, people are going to hire these cars and leave them somewhere. Do you have a lot of theft, break-ins?
Okay, so we've never lost any car. And I suppose it's also a combination of what we've done in terms of our technology, and as well as just the choice of a vehicle that you put on the road, right? If you're going to take a car that's popular and plug it on the road, and you're going to have issues, right? So you've got to then choose your car right, and then make sure that your technology also is really, really good, right? So that you can manage the security of that vehicle and that asset on the road. So that's what we've done.
Did you develop your own technology,
Yes.
or did you just take?
We developed our own technology, and the hardware we brought it from Europe because it wouldn't make sense to.
Okay, so it's the same hardware that
Yes.
you would find in an easy car or whatever, but your technology.
The technology base is ours.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
When did you complete your MBA?
Geez, it was 2014.
2014. So in a short space of 3 years, you've got transport business, you've got a food sharing club.
Yeah.
What's next?
Insurance.
Insurance?
Yes.
You like the insurance business?
Yeah, I think it's one of, there's an opportunity and a niche in the underserved market, And there's also a very big opportunity to go into on-demand insurance in this country. You insure your watch because you are leaving the house now, but when you're back, yes, but when I'm back, I don't want it insured because it's in my safe. So I want to insure it only for this time. Oh, I want to insure my iPad because I'm going into the center of town, and when I'm back, I don't want it insured. Can make it happen.
That I went to school with, who now lives in San Diego, his son has started something like that. So you just insure for the time that you need it. Many years ago, when I first started flying, you could insure yourself for a very low cost for that particular trip.
Correct. And you can imagine how that would apply as well to mobility, right? I can insure myself, I can insure my friend's car when I take it, because I'm just going to Soweto and back. Or I can take a car to send to Durban and back and just insure it for that time. And that's what's required. The old traditional models are not going to apply into the future, so we've got to start thinking differently because people want to pay for what they use.
If I had to ask you now to give advice to somebody out there who's looking at a startup, wanting to start a business, what advice would you give them?
Money follows good ideas, because I find that most startups and entrepreneurs always get stuck at that point of saying, but where am I going to get the money from? Money follows good ideas. What you do is you build a small product that's got the minimum viable functionality, and you allow your customers to fine-tune the product for you. Right? So you need to listen to your customers. So that's quite important, because then they help you shape the product to a point where it's absolutely an amazing product. So I would say take your time, build a minimum viable product, take it to market at that point. Don't spend too much on it, and allow your customers to fine-tune it for you.
But people have to believe in you, your investors. Yes. You've got to come across with a proper business plan and present yourself, because really what they're investing in is an idea and you as the individual.
As we say, I mean, in the venture cycles, we talk about putting money on the jockey rather than the horse, right? Because at that point of the business, you literally have nothing. The horse is not worth anything, but they invest in the jockey. So they invest in the person rather than what the business looks like.
You're a very inspirational guy, a little bit scary because you're quite a big guy, so if people don't listen, you'll make sure they listen. Did you have mentors?
Yes. At the bank, I had a mentor, Valna Gwaneng, and she mentored me in the bank, got me to a point, and we then agreed, I had gotten to where I wanted to get to. And then she suggested to pass me on, because mentorship is about growth, right? You've got to be able to say, this is when I hand over to the next mentor, and the next mentor is this person, because this person is going to help the mentee get to the next level. So it was always important to me to be involved in mentorship and coaching.
Part of the reason that you're here today, not the whole reason, we'll get to that,
yes,
is that one of our first guests was Zuki.
Yes.
And when we asked her who she would challenge, she mentioned you, and how many hours of your precious time are you going to be able to give to somebody out there who would love to be mentored, somebody who can tap into your success and the mistakes you've made along the way?
Just to beat Zuki, 35.
35?
Yeah.
Just to beat Zuki. That's fantastic. Okay. And then tell me, have you got somebody else that you could challenge?
Yes. There is a gentleman called Spiwe Shongwe, an amazing entrepreneur. He's the brains behind MoFire, the MoFire beverage.
What is that?
It's an energy drink that he's built with his partner Spoo. He's also brought into the market now a new vodka called Loco Flame. I find him to be absolutely amazing in terms of how he looks at things and how he analyzes things. So
fantastic. Okay, we'll ask our production team to make contact with him. We'll tell him that you've challenged him, and he's just one more, as you are, people who've agreed to either appear on our show or register on our website. But we have an array of unbelievable people who I'm blown away that they volunteered hundreds of hours of their time. These are captains of industry, people who I would love to volunteer to be mentored by, but I'm not allowed to because I'm part of the program. So if you would like to be mentored by Ntando, please visit our website, register as a mentee. If it's not Ntando, there are hundreds of hours available from other people who have registered. Please Do so now. It could change your life. Ntando, I'd like to thank you for appearing on the show, and as part of the appreciation, give you a copy of my book.
Awesome.
I'm sure it won't be too long until we see one that comes out written by you.
I'm going to enjoy this.
And
to be finished by Friday, though.
And thank you. Yeah, well,
it's not thick enough.
It's not thick enough. It's only a small career.
Thank you.
Thank you. Until next time.